Welcome back, everybody, to America's Grandmasters. I'm TJ, joined by Sottle, and we're about to kick off our first match of the day between StrifeCro and Eddie. And as you can see on your screen down there, Priest protected from both sides, which leads me to believe that we're going to see a Priest mirror in Game 1.
Does seem to be the pattern. Protect Priest, Q Priest, Q Priest. And after all that talk and all my excitement of wanting to see this Paladin in action,
it's banned.
Eddie's Paladin gets banned away, which I imagine does make some sense. And from StrifeCro here, like once StrifeCro says protect warrior, he's probably expecting his, protect priest, he's expecting his warrior to get banned out from the opponents. Then looking over on the other side, he's like, yeah, I don't really want to have to deal with this Paladin deck if I don't have warrior available. So makes sense to me, but it's a line we've been trumpeting a lot in EU. It's just saying, well, if you have a unconventional off-the-wall deck and it gets banned, like that's a victory for you because it means that you get to play all three of the good decks in your series potentially.
But that is one of the good decks.
That is one of the good decks. It's just built a bit weirdly.
Just built
to me, it's still off the wall and unconventional. I'm sure it's old hat for you at this point, TJ.
Yeah. Holy Wrath Paladin, and specifically Eddie's Holy Wrath Paladin, we've been seeing for like weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe even months at this point. Week 6, yeah.
You're just bored of Salet's Pride at this point. You just wish you could have a nice Northshire cleric to refresh your palate at this point.
I don't even mention it anymore.
Yeah.
Just like, yep, the normal 3-drop in Eddie's deck comes down onto the board. And I don't even have to see it, but I think we did get word that it is going to be a Priest mirror in Game 1.
Indeed.
And Eddie mentioned yesterday in his winner's interview that he hasn't lost the Priest mirror yet so far this season, which is kind of insane. The Faceless Rager coming in hot.
Pretty sick.
Yeah.
It's a tough matchup for sure. We saw Huntrace in that last series just before we came in. Like he was behind, and despite like him really trying to finesse his way out of the situation, I think he made a couple of really insightful plays to give himself a chance. You have to have so many things go right for you to come back from a unfavorable position after turn 1 and turn 2. So we'll see if Eddie can keep up that record.
Yeah. But Eddie versus StrifeCro, Gilnean Royal Guard versus Gilnean Royal Guard.
My favorite, the shout out to Twitch chat for this one, but there was a Fugan versus Stalag earlier. That one was amusing me. I like that.
But big match for both players. Probably bigger for StrifeCro. While Eddie can secure playoffs with this win, he does have multiple chances to secure playoffs, whether it's other people losing or him winning next week.
Yes.
Whereas StrifeCro is starting to run out of chances to get himself out of range of relegation.
Right.
He's probably happy to see, like, say, Firebat lose his matchup yesterday because that gives him maybe a little breathing room if he wins a couple and Firebat loses out from here. But ETC is the one that he's, got to have his eyes on. And he was hoping after his win yesterday that he would see ETC lose his match and have that, that breath of fresh air after maybe a week of Grandmasters.
Is someone injured?
But 1 drop for Eddie. Deja vu.
About as good a response as you can get, though, from StrifeCro. Has 1 drop plus buff on turn 1, which is about the most powerful thing you can have, and he has the silence to be able to stop any disasters from happening. Numbers of silence are a big deal in the Priest Mirrors. Both of these players just playing the single copy.
Yep, it's the standard list on both sides with the exception of the Faceless Rager from Eddie in place of the second Wild Pyromancer.
Right.
Faceless Rager seems to be working out pretty well for Eddie, and we talked to him in his interview yesterday about the tech and if it's just something that he wants to separate himself from the pack with, the Eddie tech, or if he really thinks that it's just better overall in the deck. And he thinks it's better, and Firebat agreed, because he actually put it in his deck this week as well, the first player to do so besides Eddie.
I was going to say, Eddie was also so excited.
He was
someone
pumped.
Else. Yeah, he was like, whoa, come on. Yeah, Team Faceless Rager, let's go.
Yeah.
Not too quickly. I've got more left in me.
I can tell you what card I want this Power Word Shield to give me. And it rhymes with winter tire.
Ah, Dinner Liar. Yes, that famous Hearthstone cards.
Could do something with silence here. So the Light Warden on board makes things awkward. There's not like a super efficient way to get through this. Yeah.
Hit face, heal face, kill cleric.
Yep.
Yeah, this is like I saw this early and was like, is there cuter things you can do here?
Yeah.
Then I like diverted my mind to silencing the cleric and what that looked like, but I think I didn't find anything better than that in those 75 seconds allotted. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Rather kill the cleric than silence it and not do anything. Right.
Exactly.
This leaves the injured Tolvir on board, but you leave it up either way. It is a crucial silence, though, but it is more important to take control of the board than it is to try and hold on to tools that you may need later in the game.
Right. Now, crucially, like this is such a nice position for StrifeCro to have, because normally the problems with the Priest early game in the mirror is that you have all of these like symmetrical effects, so you can't like heal your Light Warden to buff it because your opponent has a Nausea Cleric on their board or a Light Warden on their board. So now he clears the thing that punishes him for healing and also leaves himself with an injured Light Warden for the following turn. And that's not a problem Eddie can solve right now. So I think unless he finds Topsy-Turvy or in a fire,
Quickly.
he's probably just like, even on board, it feels like he's conceding the board this turn if he doesn't find that card.
Yeah. Neverset Ritualist might... I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking bump Neverset Ritualist because if he, heals and trades in the Light Warden, at least you have Neverset Ritualist to keep fighting for the board.
Sure.
But now, with Power Word Shield and Beaming Sidekick, there's a potential for StrifeCro to just beef up this Light Warden and kind of leave it isolated on board with the Neverset.
Right, you can Beaming Sidekick your Beaming Sidekick and then take a value trade into the Neverset Ritualist and then Circle of Healing.
Circle of Healing, yep.
To get enough power to contest.
Then you have you have all 3 minions are still on board. The Light Warden. The problem with that is that the Light Warden. Oh no, because he powered shields the Light Warden at the start of the turn. So now the Light Warden has maximum 6 health. So if you if you Beaming Sidekick bump Circle of Healing, it trades over and has 4 health.
Well, even without the Power Word Shield, like if you just do my play with the Beaming Sidekick trade, you Circle of Healing, you kill the injured Tolvir, and then you still get to heal the Light Warden again afterwards to keep it out of range of the Neverset Ritualist.
Hey,
Priest early game is hard, by the way.
So either way, he's leaving a minion up on board. It's just this one has a much higher potential for a punish.
Yes.
Because he's leaving a much higher health minion on board.
Agreed.
But if he kills the injured Tolvir, Cycle Pomp then all of a sudden punishes him.
Yes, that is very fair.
Or has a higher chance to punish him, because now he's killing a Neverset Ritualist, and now there's Neverset Ritualist Northshire Cleric in the pool, or if he kills the Tolvir, there's Tolvir plus Northshire Cleric in the pool.
Also, I believe with the other line of play, if his opponent plays Psychopomp and hits the 2/6, he still just has a 9/3 or 11/3 Light Warden on the board that can just trade through anyway, so it's not even like that big of a punish.
Yeah. But if his opponent has extra arms, he gets to kill the Light Warden. Because it'd be at 4 health.
Yes. Whereas this way, if his opponent has Inner Fire, he gets to kill the Light Warden. But you're pretty confident your opponent doesn't have Inner Fire based on the way the last few turns are played. Is that enough variables for you guys? Should we do some more?
Lot to think about.
Yeah.
Eddie, only a Topsy-Turvy left for StrifeCro to be able to answer a big minion like this, which means that he can feel free to kind of load up and take some value trades with the silence out of the way. There is a Beaming Sidekick in the pool for Psychopomp.
I must consider.
Which is not great. Let's think about it in a nutshell. Would you play a 4-mana card in your deck that summoned a 1/2 with Reborn?
No. Not with a 3-1 stat line, no. I think like if you want to give the 4-drop 4 stats, there are ways you could allocate those 4 stats that maybe I would play that card, but like just having...
What about a 1/3?
Yeah, maybe there isn't. Maybe 4 stats just isn't enough. But like it specifically being a 3-1 would just make that card so terrible in so many matchups that I just think you'd never play it.
What about a 4-mana 3-1 that summons a 2/6 with Reborn?
Yeah, that one I'm playing, yeah. I will take 2 of those in my deck. Thank you very much.
So the Light Warden was at 8 health. With just the more arms in hand, the Tolvir would not have answered. The Light Warden without something extra.
I must consider.
So he purposely makes this bump, giving Eddie the trade on board.
I think he's okay with that situation. If 3 mana gets spent on this Tolvir, and then what else does Eddie develop that StrifeCro can't just deal with that turn? And then he curves into like Blade Master Heal or Psychopomp of his own.
Yeah, but with this way, he kills it without the extra mana expenditure. He kills the Light Warden and has the full 5 mana.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And then if Eddie plays an injured Blade Master and heals, unless he draws a spell, he has no way to kill it on board.
Right.
Hey,
yeah, you're not wrong. There's just fear of Divine Spirit, I guess, on the 11 health minion. Does look suspect, though.
Interesting spot. And then I'm trying to think, like, what does that tell Eddie? Like, he traded into this, like, knowing that I probably don't have an answer to that Light Warden.
Right.
Which means maybe he wants it to die, which Psychopomp comes to mind, but does Light Warden improve your Psychopomp that much? I mean, I suppose it does, since Beaming Sidekick is pretty much the worst.
Yes. This Priest Mirror, though, does appear to be going the distance. The distance is usually around turn 8 or 9 in a Priest Mirror. That's not a good sign at all, though.
Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it.
Well played.
Eddie seems to be looking at it the same way that I am.
Yes, passing a turn is bad, but Wansamdi is good. Pretty expected result from StrifeCro's perspective.
Yeah.
It's not much with not much power on the board that you wouldn't just.
That's a Hearthstone card. So, First Instinct. 3-1 goes in, you Cleric, you Inner Fire, you then trade the Pyromancer to kill the remaining 7-3, which still leaves you with an injured Pyromancer on your board, but the 7-7 is dead, and then you Circle of Healing afterwards.
Sounds fantastic. And guess what? You still have 5 mana to work with.
Oh yeah, this draws an extra card. Yes, this is just a better way of doing what I said.
Yeah, that's the upside of this, Power Word Shield.
Yep. Straight up.
And the definite upside
yeah.
of Power Word Shield into injured Tolvir.
Just significantly better in every way.
Quickly.
Oh. Well, you said it's going the distance, but the distance is pretty much a single turn.
I said turn 8 to turn 9.
Okay.
Spot on.
Spot on. Spot on.
Is someone injured? In the light's name. In the light's name.
In a silence and circle?
StrifeCro just sat back in the nonchalant, well, good luck, buddy, stance.
I've got more left in me.
Ooh, little furrow of concern when he sees the injured Tolvir come down.
still has more than enough. Divine Spirit on the injured Blade Master, extra arms on the Wild Pyromancer, traded over.
Well, what if Eddie starts putting Divine Spirits on his 2/6 taunt?
That makes things more complicated.
Would Eddie make that play? Is he scared of StrifeCro's hand being exactly double Divine Spirit, double Inner Fire right now?
I got you, friend.
Apparently he is. Okay, that is a pretty god read in the situation. 2 11-2s on board with a Wild Pyromancer in play. Like, you can fully get down with Eddie being greedy in that situation and trying to protect his Light Wardens. But he is, in this situation, absolutely made the right play to try and stay alive.
Yeah. But, I mean, it feels like with the silence gone, you can just do the same thing. But instead of killing him with the injured Blade Master, you kill the Tol'Vir.
Sure.
And it would be a full clear, and he'd be left with a very large injured Blade Master and a very hurt, a very injured Tol'Vir. So I was thinking Divine Spirit on the injured Blade Master, then an extra arms onto the Wild Pyromancer, then another Divine Spirit on the injured Blade Master.
Okay.
Quickly.
Less max health.
3 more spells, ends up killing the Pyromancer here. Just gonna use 2. Yeah, sure, this makes sense. 15 seems big enough. Yeah. He is 1 mana off a play that would potentially keep him alive, which is like Armet, Divine Spirit, and then Psychopomp and Injured Tol'Vir.
Yep. I mean, he can try and Psychopomp and Injured Tol'Vir first and then Divine Spirit it.
Yes.
But then a heal on it would be 12. So even if he interfires, then a heal on the injured Blade Master would allow it to value trade over, and then you know the more arms is there, so then that allows you to push through the 1 health minions that are on board.
I see.
The Tol'Vir would reborn with 7 health again if that happens.
I was talking about the play that he can make with 9 mana.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. But yes, if you could augment Divine Spirit if you had 1 more mana.
Yeah.
Could have been a potential, but unfortunately for Eddie, StrifeCro takes the W. And Eddie has seemed pretty invulnerable in Priest Mirrors, and today
This is why you
he's
don't say
mortal
things
after all.
in interviews like, I've never lost a Priest Mirror. Like, you just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just like you don't dab on camera. Pheno.
He's paying for it this season?
Yes.
Is that what's happening? Okay.
Yes.
I see how it is. But yeah, some interesting spots in that game. You know, StrifeCro finding percentage points. Weird spot with like the Light Warden trading in, but obviously he had board control in his mind. He didn't want to get blown out by something massive.
Yep.
From Eddie. He felt like he had the lead, which means that, you know, he can make safer plays like that and give up the big Light Warden to get the job done.
Yeah, and the sequencing on that Pyromancer turn into his opponent's Blomsamdi was really nice as well. Like, I just called out First Instinct. I hope I would have seen that if I'd have thought about it for a bit longer, but, you know, it's a good catch just to make sure he was maximizing 1 extra card draw. That 1 extra card draw doesn't always pay off as huge as it did in that situation, but that is why you take 1 extra card draw when it's available, because then Power Word Shield into Injured Tol'Vir is essentially what completely ended the game in that spot.
Yeah, that's right. But game 1 in the books, StrifeCro with a 1-0 lead in a big match for him trying to avoid relegation. We're going to go to a quick break before we jump into the remainder of this series. But don't go anywhere. More America's Grandmasters action right after this.
Welcome to this edition of Around the Fern with TJ and Just Saying.
Happy to be here.
Glad to hear it. So I've talked to this about you before, I've never heard you exclaim. So we have an hour in this room, and my goal is going to be to get you to exclaim.
That's just not going to happen.
It is going to happen. Imagine you're walking down the street. You just got lunch. It's a delicious burrito. You're hungry. You haven't eaten in 2 days. Then some guy walks up on the street, punches you in the face, and steals your burrito. You're out of money. You don't have cash. You didn't drive there. You walked there an hour. And now this guy comes up and punches you and steals your burrito. How do you react?
I don't even like burritos. I thank the guy and say, whatever. I was waiting for
What's your
Uber Eats
favorite
anyway.
food?
I mean, it has to be something with rice, but like, I kind of like risotto. The Italian style is very nice.
Italian style risotto. Now imagine you're walking down the street, you get your Italian risotto, and then a guy comes up to you, punches you in the face, and steals your risotto. What do you do?
Actually, I just.
Do you yell? Do you
I
scream?
get confused. I'm mad.
You're mad, so you
But-
want to yell.
But then I think this guy probably needs it more than me. I don't think it's physically
Let's say you're in a
possible for me.
giant field and you're strapped to a chair. The only person that can save you is 1,000 yards away. If you don't yell to them to communicate to them, you're going to sit in that chair forever because that's the only other person on earth. Do you yell to them to save your life?
I mean, if he's the only other person on earth, do I like this guy? Are we friends even?
He's blind.
I just admit that this is the end. Last person on earth. I don't know about, like, is his personality nice? Like, is he fun to hang out with? Or
Can we play a game?
yeah, we can play a game.
I'm going to say a word, and you have to say it slightly louder. Risotto. 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 Risotto.
Risotto.
Welcome back, everybody, to America's Grandmasters. Still in our first match of the day. Got a little bit of a late start, but StrifeCro leads 1-0 over Eddie in a battle of opposites for Division A. Eddie trying to secure first place, StrifeCro trying to avoid last place. And that seems to be a trend among the Week 6 matches we've seen so far this week.
It does, yeah. And something that we also haven't mentioned is that the overall record between these two players kind of reflect their standings. There aren't many clean sweep head-to-head records still standing across all regions in Grandmasters, but this is one of them. Eddie is currently 3-0 in Grandmasters against StrifeCro. So StrifeCro off to a good start here to at least try and put pay to that, but that is very trivial in regards to, or in comparison, I should say, to how much this means to him in terms of just avoiding relegation.
Yeah. And, he has a 1-0 lead, but we've said it many times. Even if you win the Priest Mirror, it means your opponent still gets to play Priest. And StrifeCro has Shaman and Druid remaining, which are both quite weak to Priest.
Yes, and I think that, again, is another big reason why the Warrior ban goes down. I think specifically when you have this 4-deck lineup, that StrifeCro has without the Holy Wrath Paladin when you have Shaman, Druid, Warrior, Priest. If Priest is protected, almost every lineup on the other side then wants to ban Warrior out, because you do kind of get that almost guaranteed win with Priest at that point. Like, the worst matchup you're going to play is the Mirror, and you have two very strong favorables on the other side. So it would expect to see Eddie queue up Priest again in this one, but we await his decision. Maybe he sees some Galaxy Brain lines that we're just not privy to, TJ.
Yeah, we're probably going to see like Priest versus Shaman, and then we're going to see a Druid mirror if the Priest wins. It seems like that's how it's going to be. Depends. Sometimes we see differences in opinion, since it's a mirrored lineup at this point with bans, taking into consideration. Some players like the Shaman into the Druid. Some players like the Druid into the Shaman. So we'll see, but prediction number 1 is correct. StrifeCro going to be playing the Shaman versus Eddie's Priest. I think it does have a little bit more game against the Priest than Druid does, just because they actually do things before turn 5.
Yeah, those things are playing 1/1s and 2/1s a lot of the time, which isn't ideal, but it's better than doing very little. I think, we've seen Druid really have to scramble, like play a Wrath on turn 2 and skip their quest completion, like 4-2 rush a Loti on turn 3 and skip their quest completion. Like, the amount of miserable stuff you have to do as a Druid to stay competitive in this matchup is just not fun whatsoever.
But looking okay for StrifeCro to start things off, as Eddie does not have a turn 1 play and currently does not have a turn 2 play. So that's the kind of situation that you want. It gives StrifeCro some freedom to kind of maneuver how he feels. I wonder, out of fear, if he's going to try and delay the quest and play Sludge Slipper here to try and get a Lackey that contests an injured Tol'Vir. But I don't think Eddie kept anything in the mulligan, which gives you a little bit of breathing room as far as your early decisions go.
Yeah, also, which lackeys does it actually improve at that point? Just Kobold Lackey, right?
And Rush.
Having
You could use a Rush to kill an injured Tol'Vir that gets played onto the board.
Well, no, if you play Sludge Slurper on turn 2 and get the Rush guy, you still kill an injured Tol'Vir that was played on turn 2.
But you get to, like, Sludge Slurper. Yeah, I guess it's the exact same.
Because the one overload means that it's essentially the same thing in the way you play out.
Maybe you think about it just for the possibility of Kobold Lackey. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Or you can just coin out any of the lackeys and contest it anyway, because you have 3 damage attacking. But then you delay your quest significantly.
Yeah, hang on. Now we're on like turn 4 and we haven't played our quest. I'm upset.
No, we're on turn 2.
Okay.
You're overloaded for 1 without the coin, so the only thing you can do is play quest on 2.
Yep.
See what I did. Agonizing over the decision of whether or not to play the Neferset Ritualist because of the double injured Blade Master in hand.
Right.
Of course it's the right way.
That is absolutely not what Eddie wanted to see this turn. Already behind on board.
Job's done.
Excellent usage of the coin.
Yep, means he can contest a Blade Master without having to worry about rolling specific lackeys. Just keep on pushing this turn. Oh, this hand is looking fantastic from StrifeCro. Shadowwalk is just clogging it up a little bit, and he's a weaponized Wasp away from the Dream right now. I guess a Mutate as well. There's a lot of good cards in Quest Shaman.
So now the question is, with the Mogu Flesh Shaper picked up, do you minimize the board and just clear off, or do you play in mana inefficient play and go Titanic Lackey on the Questing Explorer and have 2 attackers going into the next turn? I think that's tough.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So either way, you want to trade and kill the injured Blade Master, though, right?
You kill the injured Blade Master. You just use Titanic Lackey on the Questing Explorer, so that way you have a 2/1 and a 1/1 at the end of the turn instead of...
Ooh, StrifeCro taking the greedy line. He wants that Mogu Flesh Shaper to be active.
No.
That is some real greed.
No. Subtle.
I don't like it, TJ.
Subtle.
Rise, you
don't like it when you say my name like that.
He's got a bad hand. He passed a couple turns. What could his hand possibly be outside of support for this injured Blade Master?
Yeah. Neverset Ritualists, Divine Spirits, Topsy-Turvies, Inner Fires, Circle of Healings, Borm Samdi. Those are the kind of cards you're expecting your opponent to have at that point. And what half that list made you really sad with this play?
At least he gets a Mogu Flesh Shaper down this turn.
Yeah.
But I feel like he could have anyway.
What to do?
Maybe I'm wrong. But that gave Eddie a chance, given from our perspective, Eddie's chance of winning the game would have been pretty low had StrifeCro just traded and kind of kept this kind of slow pace.
Right.
I hope you like my invention.
Mortals are
Saved!
so squishy. Mortals are so squishy.
Maybe this is exactly what StrifeCro wanted.
He's going to continue the greedy line. I respect him continuing. I was about to say the inconsistent thing to do now is to kill the 4-9. The consistent thing to do is to remain being greedy, take some value trades and leave it there. So I definitely respect that StrifeCro's gone down this one line of thought and stuck to it.
He's not out of the woods yet. There's
He is
another
not.
injured Blade Master coming down and another Neferset Ritualist coming down.
And there is already one Divine Spirit and a Topsy-Turvy in hand for Eddie. Which means Power Shield,
I wonder.
Beaming Sidekick, Divine Spirit number 2 are all absolutely terrifying.
And also one thing to note is that StrifeCro doesn't have any fancy techs to try and, you know, fight through these board states. He doesn't have Plague of Murlocs. He doesn't have Earthshock.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of mind control techs, but I feel like Eddie is going to have plenty of opportunities to play around that effectively this game.
Yep.
At least for the time being. Still think a Mutate off the top blows this game wide open.
It
Or a
sure
Lackey
does, yeah.
Generator into Witchy. He's got Quest Complete as well. But pretty far behind on board after this play. So there would be 7 minions on board if he Bog Sloshers this Mogu Flesh Shaper. He can even Hero Power.
What to do?
Which would make it a 7-8.
Yes.
Pretty appealing.
Now the problem is if he goes for that play with the hero power, he can no longer value trade over the Neferset Rituals with the higher health one because he'd spend all of his mana and it would cost 1. So he could have opted to go for the value trade, not hero power, and Bog Slosher for a smaller one, but
Gotcha.
opts to not go for the value trade and instead get the hero power buff Bog Slosher onto this and not take it. Well, you can still take a value trade if he goes here, the 1/1's going to the Ancient Blade Master, and then the Mogu Flesh Shaper goes over the 2/3. So I think this was the best way to do it given the circumstances.
It's like a Bomb Sandy. It is a Bomb Sandy. Oh, the difference between Topsy-Turvy and Inner Fire.
Oh,
Inner Fire just so much more powerful for situations like this. Let's get a nice value trade out of the equation though, and still StrifeCro does not find himself out of the woods. I will say in support of the line that he took though, that Mogu Flesh Shaper is, most people will tell you, Mogu is the card that wins this matchup, right?
Yep.
More often than not, and he played towards a line where he made the most of the Mogu Flesh Shapers that he had. The second one being drawn changed everything, which is, not information that he necessarily had access to.
Well, there's arguments on both sides, since doing the trade does leave him 2 minions on board. which if you think that the Blade Master goes over one of the minions on board the turn that he doesn't play around it, then it's kind of like a net even.
Sure.
It's just mana efficiency because he can squeeze in. He plays Evil Cable Rat, which means he gets another Lackey, which means he gets to squeeze in extra minions for Mogu Fleshaper the next turn.
Right.
Which may give him a bigger swing. So yeah, I guess he did play into it, like into the maximum power Mogu Fleshaper instead of like. I can still probably Mogu Fleshaper, but the rest of his turn would have been weaker.
Yes. And he also dodged the Psychopomp Disaster, right? Which is not a card that Eddie had, but is a card that I didn't put in that list of like things that could be in his hand with a bad start.
Yeah.
Because the double trade line, he double trades into a Blade Master, and he has like just an evil Cable Rat on board or whatever, and then his opponent plays a 4/7 Reborn on the following turn.
Yeah. But then you also have to look into the implications of how much that injured Blade Master snowballed the board. Because it gave him a Neferset Ritualist target, and if he kills it, then all Eddie is doing is playing another 4/3 injured Blade Master, and his Nefersets are stranded. So
with the hand that he had.
With the hand that he had, but obviously we can consider that right now, but StrifeCro can't because he didn't know how big of a punish there could have been for going for the line that he did. All right, so Mutate picked up. 5 minions on board, so a Bog Slosher Mogu Fleshaper would go down to 2 mana.
I wonder.
And he could Hero Power.
Make the 8 drop though. That's kind of a low roll in this spot.
Wait a second.
He made another 7/8, right, with the Bog Slosher?
Yeah, he could have Hero Powered, made a Bog Slosher the Mogu Fleshaper. He has 2 mana remaining. Mogu Fleshaper costs exactly 2. Then he can value trade and then mutate.
Yes, that does seem better.
He wants to kill him.
You belong to the bog.
It's easier to kill him if he doesn't have a 7/7 on board.
It's easier to kill him if he doesn't have a 7/7 on board. This is true. What? 9, 10, 11, 22. So it's more efficient to do on the injured Blade Master. So that's 8, 10, 27?
It already has 14 max health, remember, but the Neferset Ritualists are gone. But Circle of Healing is a massive draw in terms of getting more health out of it.
So a lot of potential for lethal here because Beaming Sidekick, Divine Spirit, Topsy-Turvy costs 3. No, so he can't, right? He would only have 3 mana left.
He needs Circle.
Circle?
Circle of Healing would have healed it to 14, double it and flip it to 28, and then the 7 from the Bomb Samdi is lethal.
Not move quickly.
How does he live?
Hey, I got you, friend.
Wait, no, it is. It's 24.
Yeah. Because
Because
wasn't looking at the second Beaming Sidekick for some reason.
yeah, me neither. I thought he only had 1. For some reason, I thought he played 1. Does find lethal, and I don't know, Sawdle. I feel like we're in a position where we have to question some of the lines from StrifeCro in that game.
I think so. There can be some cast division on the first one.
On the first one, yes.
Because we're staring at a hand that punishes him, and we're looking at not the Psychopomp hand, which is what he plays around.
Yes, so let's ignore the possibility of that play because he plays around Psychopomp, but doesn't play around potentially having a cleaner board given all the other stuff.
Yes. The second one, where he makes essentially the same play but kills a 7/7, that looks significantly better than what he did.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any downside to it. He spent the rest of his mana playing a Potion Vendor and then Bog Sloshing his Potion Vendor and then replaying it.
Yes.
Or just doing that but not replaying it.
Which does add a lot of stats to the board with the Potion Vendor coming down as a 5/5 alongside his...
Yes.
Like, he ends the turn with more stats on his side of the board with the play that he makes.
Yes.
But his opponent has a 7/7.
Which
already over-contests the 5/5 that he's added to the board anyway.
Yes.
Regardless of like the idea that his opponent can just threaten lethal, which of course he can because he's Priest.
Yeah.
So I feel like killing the 7/7 on the opposing side of the board is quite a lot superior in that position.
All right, so we'll go ahead, because of Psychopomp, call the first play correct.
We'll call that one a draw.
Okay, we'll call it a draw.
Yeah.
But the second play, I don't know. I just think killing the 7/7 is pretty important, considering he drew Northshire Cleric. Northshire Cleric, the draw off the top becomes better because you don't have the 1-drops in the pool.
Yep.
And he's been holding on to, what, 2 to 3 cards in
Right.
the far left for a while. Now, it was close, right? He needed... Actually, he didn't need anything. He had lethal just showing on board if
To start the turn, did
to
he?
start the
Okay,
turn,
all
yeah,
right.
'cause
Is
he
that why we
didn't-
got confused? Because he started drawing cards?
Because he started
Yeah.
drawing cards,
Okay.
yeah. But that's why he had the shake of the head, because he was trying to dig for something but picked up like Wild Pyromancer Psychopomp and then still lethal.
Okay.
Must be
Yeah, I was in the same boat as Eddie. I honestly just kind of skipped over the second Beaming Sidekick in hand. I counted only 1. So Eddie is forgiven because we've made the same mistake.
And will again, TJ.
All right, well, both my predictions were correct, as we saw Priest versus Shaman. Priest won, as is expected, and then both players queuing their Quest Druid, the non-Malagos Quest Druid. And they are mirrored lineups? No, double Power of the Wild for StrifeCro with a single Innervate, and Eddie has 2 Innervates, a single Power of the Wild, and a Mind Control tech instead of the second Ferocious Howl that StrifeCro
Yes,
has.
this list from StrifeCro, I believe, is... I mean, it is the same list. Whether or not StrifeCro took it from them, I don't know. This is the list that the Bunny Hopper, KC, RDU, etc. practice group put together. They then said improved your win rate against Holy Wrath Paladin dramatically.
Yeah.
Because you have additional pressure with the Power of the Wild, plus you play 2 Ferocious Howl, so you kind of have them checked on both fronts. But it's not Paladin that StrifeCro is facing. It is the Druid Mirror, in which case Power of the Wild, a effective card, not a great one. Ferocious Howl, kind of a whiff a lot of the time. Gaining armor isn't super important. But cycling through your deck to find key cards like Nourish Cenarius and Feoris very much is.
However, Mind Control tech is a big one.
Yes.
Because, one, sometimes you just like steal an Oasis Surger, kill an Oasis Surger, and completely swing the board. Also, it could change the way that StrifeCro plays. If all of a sudden he's constantly worried about Mind Control tech and is limiting his plays and his board to 3 minions, that gives Eddie an advantage in a matchup where, it's all about swing turns and tempo, and if you're not putting the maximum power on board sometimes, you can fall behind, and that means death. So I think probably advantage Eddie if it's slight, and we're honestly starting off with pretty even starts here.
Yep.
StrifeCro gets to play first Crystal Merchant, which usually gives you a benefit because you can Wrath it, trade, and then draw a card, but doesn't have a way to do it without slowing down his quest progress here.
Does pick up Oasis Surger Floop now as well, which is pretty enormously powerful. I was going to say, especially with that Power of the Wild he has available, but he's going to choose to use that to contest board here. It's kind of interesting to me, since he has Swipe for the next turn anyway.
Yeah, the Power Wild can have some interesting uses. Like later on in the game, Oasis Surger plus Power of the Wild lets you like essentially value trade over your opponent's Oasis Surger.
Yep.
Which forces out a Swipe or a Starfall, which hinders their following turn, and then you get to like re-up with pressure. So you're effectively like trading back the tempo where your opponent had it first because they played Oasis Surger, and then you all of a sudden become the proactive player instead of the reactive player. But that's like wishful thinking, I think.
Right.
What to do?
Wrath Crystal Merchant and deny the draw, or you can hold on to the Wrath and just take his draw and kill the Panther. Quest complete!
StrifeCro going to continue to have a Crystal Merchant stick for the time being, at least. Simple turn, pass turn, quest complete. In the interest of impartial casting, can we now get the round of applause for StrifeCro for completing his
Quest
question?
complete!
There we go, thank you. I'm going to play favorites here.
I don't play favorites. I just love when quests are complete. You can try all you want to find a creative way to not have to trade in your Oasis Surgers into your opponent's Oasis Surgers, but just rip off the Band-Aid, my friend. Has 9 cards in hand, so Nourish would overdraw.
Yeah, that was the only other thing, right? Is like maybe you can just play a Nourish and block with the Anubis Defender this turn, and then maybe you get a good Starfall on the next turn, and then maybe you get to start playing threats. But nope, it just doesn't work. Hand size is going to be too high. You're going to burn a card. Yeah. I'll play the Anubis Defender first.
And, well, you can if you do it fast enough.
What?
Oh, wow, okay.
Alrighty then.
Uh-oh. This could be big.
My hand is too
Okay.
full.
All right.
Behold, jewels of the sound.
All right, StrifeCro's got a plan. He's got a plan somewhere along the line. Holding on to the Anubis Defender, trading a random card in his deck to be able to get the mana crystals.
I will say that Druid Mirrors are often decided by who gets towards the bottom of their deck the quickest. That used to be overwhelmingly true when Chef Nomi was much more common, but still is to an extent, because having access to Zephyrus and Elise to duplicate your threats and your Zephyrus, while your opponent does not. Like if you just get 6 or 7 cards ahead of your opponent and you have all of those cards available to you and your opponent doesn't, or even worse, has an Elise and a Zephyrus stuck in their hand that they can't even use, you are overwhelmingly winning a lot of the time. So, you know, people don't talk about Nourish in the Druid Mirror in the same sort of hushed tones as they do against Warrior, where it's like the card, but it still kind of is the card in the matchup.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of merit to StrifeCro to just drawing through his deck where he can.
But this gives Eddie a free turn of development, essentially.
It does.
Hidden Oasis on the Oasis Surger. And no mind control tech to worry about in StrifeCro's list, so can feel free to just load up the power and set up for Power the Wild being pretty crucial. All right. This is the situation that StrifeCro has put himself in.
I wonder.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to love it with you here, Sottle.
Go on. I'm listening. I'm here for it.
I feel like it's very easy to fall behind in Druid Mirrors.
Okay.
And it's very hard to swing a board without some tech inclusions like mind control tech.
What to do?
War Druid Lodi is great, but right now it only makes a slight dent into the board. He could try and set up for a 2-turner with like War Druid Lodi and Starfall. I feel like War Druid Lodi has to come onto the board, and then a very defensive play has to happen, and he has to try and set up first one.
Agreed. I like this. 3 damage AoE Starfall means that even if Power of the Wild were to come down, he can fluke his Loti and Swipe will still clear things up. StrifeCro is still in a perfectly fine position myself. Although Eddie having now found that Nourish would be a big improvement for him. But Eddie not having yet cast a Nourish is a huge deal, because Cenarius here would be the scary one for StrifeCro. That would be the one where he'd have to get super creative in order to deal with.
Yeah. And that's usually the punishes I'm kind of looking at when you know, you leave this Oasis Surger on board.
What to do?
I guess he was, you know, pretty confident in his ability to find some additional AoE, but it's not guaranteed. But it seems like the risk is going to pay off right now, and with Hidden Oasis in hand, it means that he can kind of heal up everything.
AC, Eddie, full hand, 10 mana, still picks a second Nourish over 2 much more tempo-based cards.
Whew.
Kind of the indicator of what I was talking about.
Love me some tendies, though.
I see you are also a man of culture, TJ. Admirable does not understand when I start talking about how much I love tendies. He thinks I'm talking about the food, and then he asks me all sorts of weird questions about where you go to get the best tendies. I'm like, no, tendies. Which part of this don't you understand?
I mean, let me set the record straight. I also love his kind of tendies.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
In fact, I do not discriminate against any fried goods.
I wonder.
Do you think there's such a thing as a bad chicken tendy?
If there is, I've yet to have one.
Okay.
Time waits for no one.
Don't think there was any other plays here for StrifeCro. But this is a real good one.
StrifeCro not pushing the 4 here.
He just wants the swing again with the swipe.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable with another swipe in his hand.
Yeah, it doesn't line up super well against some things.
I wonder.
Like the Starfall would line up great
if
you had a Starfall, because that just kills a Scenarius outright. Plus it's the tokens. But most of the board states that Eddie plays with the combination of things that StrifeCro has.
Okay.
All right.
So 6+3 on his swipe. Some nice looking numbers against that board state. And he has a Wrath that deals 8.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It does.
What?
Elise is active, by the way. Not super relevant this turn, because maybe StrifeCro wants to curate his hand a little bit better in order to get the most value out of that. But gonna make sure that he doesn't have a play that uses up all his mana, and if he doesn't, then he can warrior the expedition and try and find something that improves the play on board.
Right.
Because nothing lines up super well unless he wants to play double 5.
Time waits for
Those
no
double
one.
5s are pretty weak.
What?
Step 1 not worthy expedition here.
I almost was certain step 1 was worth the expedition. I'm curious if he's going to spend all his mana. Hidden Oasis? Yeah, okay. I was playing a mind control tech, though.
Eddie not messing about. I like it. You're always going to mind control tech this turn. Get it done.
The worst
Work it out
one.
later.
The worst one. I was looking for something green. Well, they're all kind of green, but I was looking for something green with a green glow.
Yeah, with a green border, indicating that it can attack yours this turn.
Yep.
And poison an opposing minion.
Yep.
And give your star full spell power.
Yep. That would have been a really good spell power buff Starfall, but instead gets a swipe, and he is pushing some damage.
Yep.
StrifeCro's had to work pretty hard to just try and gain the board back for himself, but now he's still in a rough position despite all of that. He does have some pretty good plays available to him here. Oasis Surger might be able to finally come down.
Yeah, Wrath and Surger.
Yep, Wrath Surger, and maybe you can throw in a Ferocious Howl in there, or...
Maybe he wants to Elise that Ferocious Howl. He's not going to die from hand if he clears the board, right? So he can potentially save it for next turn.
If he plays Elise, he can clear the board.
Right, but I mean, like, he clears the board this turn, so he can end the turn with an Elise and a Ferocious Owl in his hand. And then
okay.
Next turn, copy the Ferocious Owl for more value. But
Yeah.
by the same token, if he clears the board here, he should feel that, like, 15 health is just kind of plenty, and he doesn't need to duplicate a Ferocious Owl, so I can get down with what he did anyway.
Time waits for no one.
So if he plays Cenarius, then the Treants die. But at least he has a guaranteed something on board.
Yeah, and crucially now, Eddie's looking kind of low himself when he only has 19 health to play with, and there's 2 5/2s on the board.
Does pick up his Lodi though, so now he can kind of do the same thing that StrifeCro did earlier, which is Ferocious Howl, throw a Lodi on the board.
Right.
You're at a pretty healthy life total, but Cenarius has to be weighing into his decision making. StrifeCro's very far through his deck. It's likely that he has it at this point. But picks up Starfall. Oh, if Cenarius comes out. Lodi Starfall. The Fluke Lodi and Starfall is... Sato, it's the juice.
StrifeCro potential copy turn this turn. It's kind of ugly though.
He can play Elise and Oasis Surger.
He can, yeah, but do you want to Worthy Expedition first, pick the good card, and then copy the good card?
I don't know what you...
I don't think you want to copy a Nourish with 6 cards left in your deck either. You'd rather get the Nourish played first and then copy the cards that you draw.
Just cover the Nourish with a couple of your fingers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you want to copy Zephrys.
Yep, this seems quite a lot better.
Then a Nubasoth and Hidden Oasis. Whoa! So copy the Zephrys card.
Deadly Shot. Yep, love it. Gonna make this one quick. Did he play it? He was gonna play Worthy Expedition. All right. No, he did.
Woo.
And Hidden Oasis.
All right.
King Feoris still remaining for StrifeCro, so picking the expensive spell makes a lot of sense there. You can kind of see what I was talking about. It's like Eddie himself has played 2 Nourish this game, which makes the point kind of moot, but the fact that StrifeCro spends so much of the game drawing and sacrificing board presence a little bit has meant that he's just able to do more powerful things. He has the good cards available to him.
Yeah. And I was worried leaving that Oasis Surger up, but StrifeCro's kind of proving me wrong in this one.
It's particularly weird in that spot because there was a lot of pressure on board and he was burning a card.
Yeah.
Which makes it look very, very questionable. I think in a lot of spots, giving up board position to play a Nourish is just something that you do in the Druid Mirror. That spot looked particularly suspect, but you could argue that StrifeCro is just being very brave in that position and sort of extending matchup knowledge to its limits.
Yeah.
What
Elise and Zephrys still not active with 6 cards left in deck.
I know.
Has he played a Worthy Expedition yet?
Yes.
What is the duplicate left?
Wrath?
No, he has a Wrath in hand.
Oh yeah, he does. I was looking at the deck tracker and not his hand. That doesn't make any sense.
What?
Something's broken, TJ.
I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
All right.
Who dares defy this ancient land?
Something was picked up. Oh, it was Hidden Oasis. Because the...
Oh, yeah, he played a discovered one.
A discovered Hidden Oasis.
Right. Yeah, that explains it.
Now going to be able to copy the Zephrys, Cenarius, Starfall, and Hidden Oasis. The Wrath is kind of secondary here, but the spell power going to help him out. And now Eddie has a lot of plays to be made.
He does,
in the next couple turns.
Yep. And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where Eddie, you know, he was going into his natural 10-mana turn, he had a full 10-card hand, and he picked a Nourish off his Worthy Expedition. And that's what's allowed him to keep pace here and just find that duplicate on the crucial turn. I think now, because of his early pressure, he's actually been able to be more greedy with resources, hold on to a better Elise hand. And now with 2 Zephyrs to follow this up, he's looking in a very commanding spot now.
Yeah, StrifeCro used the Zephyrs to try and solidify a board position.
Right.
Got a deadly shot from it. And considering you can copy the Zephyrs.
I'm almost out of cards.
Yeah, would you like a deadly shot or 2 Tyrians? Tough choice.
Or how about a deadly shot and a Tyrion?
That works also. How about a Bright Wing and a Defender of Argus?
Still better than a deadly shot. And now, the more that StrifeCro has to fight back onto the board, the less value his Elise gets.
Yep. He also now just like knows that his opponent has a Starfall in his hand with a Loti in play. So how do you even go about fighting for board in this position?
Yeah. Last card in StrifeCro's deck, King Feoris.
Yep.
Time waits for
You
no
can
one.
copy that, but
He's going to look real dead in the process.
yeah.
Who dares defy this ancient land?
Job done.
There's an infinite amount of possibilities this turn.
So
Wait. Zephyrus.
Are you going to suggest two card Zephyrus lethals again, TJ?
Yeah.
They don't work. The first one doesn't know.
There's got to be a first one that knows. Like even something weird, right?
Yeah, okay, sure. I see what you're saying.
Like given 8 mana, what and this board, what would Zephyrus offer?
Time waits for no one.
It's not a card.
Flame Strike?
It probably offers Flame Strike. I don't know if it offers Tyrion because of all the variables. And Eddie knows that he has a resource advantage now.
Yeah.
He also doesn't want to part ways with the Starfall because he knows that King Feoris is a possibility.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, he also does not want to part ways with this War Druid Lodi because that spell power could be crucial for him trying to combat the King Feoris. I mean, there's also the argument that if StrifeCro uses King Feoris and does not find something that can help kill this hidden oasis, then StrifeCro's dead.
Yes. Also, if StrifeCro uses his Feoris before his Elise, like Eddie can just fatigue him at that point, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, he could probably fatigue him regardless.
Yeah.
How much board reload could he possibly have that 2 Zephyrus and a Starfall with spell power won't get through?
Yeah. StrifeCro's looking kind of dead.
Time waits for no one.
He needs
Almost out of cards.
miracle outs from these Feoris. Unless he is just dead already.
So will this is the first tick of fatigue. So StrifeCro's at 9. Does Zephyrus recognize fatigue?
No.
Okay. Does Zephyrus recognize like 1 in 30s?
You're going to say Avenging Wrath?
Yep.
At least when it was released, it did not offer lethals based on fatigue ticks, but I don't know if that was one of the IQ improvements that was patched in any of the recent patches. What?
There's gotta be a lethal here.
Yeah.
Time waits for no one.
I don't think you can bog up your brain with trying to find lethal outs when you have
But I want
10 cards
to.
in hand. From Eddie's perspective, we obviously can.
Yeah. Like, it seems so easy, right? Just go, oh, Zephyrus Fireball into Zephyrus whatever. But, like, no, the first Zephyrus just doesn't give you a Fireball there.
Zephyrus Fireball and the Zephyrus Lightning Bolt was for sure lethal there.
Yep. Just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Maybe was Fireball just the most efficient removal tool? Maybe it would have given you a Fireball anyway. It was pretty good there. I don't know. It's worth a try.
I wonder.
No? Just me? All right.
I 100% would have ripped a Zephyrus just to see what it would have given me.
Yeah. I'm curious whether, like, I mean, we're super deep down the rabbit hole, right? Like, Eddie has won, and we're just kind of debating different ways to win. But, like, push him down below 7 and just play one of your Zephyrus so you have a Pyroblast in your hand, like, might be kind of interesting, just in a, like, force.
It's 2 mana, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's 2 mana, force your opponent to heal.
Yes. Now, your opponent does have 4 hidden Oasis.
Yeah. But they can only play 1 a turn.
Yeah.
All right, this has to be the greatest favor known to mankind. Stop.
Wah, wah.
Out of cards.
And that means that StrifeCro moves down to 3-9. And Eddie, 9-3, and secures himself a playoff spot.
TJ, there were so many Zephyrus lethals that last turn, I can tell you.
Oh, boy. You better believe there was.
Yeah. All did seem slightly worse than just hitting your opponent in the face with your minions, though.
Yeah, especially when you're giving them their 9th loss. Don't want to make that last any longer than you need to. But big win for Eddie, and honestly a big loss for StrifeCro. We talked about the implications, obviously throughout the series, but even in our pre-show at the beginning of the day, Eddie qualifies for playoffs, but StrifeCro now has to rely on ETC also losing in order to try and pull himself out.
Yeah, I mean, glass half full perspective is that, yeah, Eddie is now locked for playoffs. Only 4 players from this point can finish on 9 wins. Eddie is already one of them. He is now 9-3. So the very, very worst he will finish is 4th at this point, which means he is qualified for playoffs. But StrifeCro, as you mentioned, I always ask this question to the players of, how much attention are you paying to everyone else's games? Are you actively rooting against these players? Like, now he's really in that position where he needs some big favors from ETC's opponents.
Yeah, that is right. But now we are joined by Eddie after his victory. Eddie, can you hear us?
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. That was a pretty intense series to start off the day, especially after having to wait for Europe to end. But how do you feel after that one?
I feel really good. Because before going to the match, it was ETC's birthday yesterday, and I promised him I'll deliver a present for him today. And after losing game 1, I was like, this is probably over. Because game 1 and my draw were pretty okay at the start, and then turn 6 I had to pass because my hand is 3-0 mana in Bozandi, so I was like, maybe I can't give you a present, but glad I pulled it off.
Yeah, and not only giving ETC that birthday present, you've also secured your spot for playoffs. Because at 9...
Oh yeah, this is also one of the things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that. I think overall this season I played pretty well, so I definitely wanted to secure the playoff as soon as possible, especially since it's pretty top heavy. Everyone above top 6 has I think at least 50% win rate, so pretty crazy here.
I want to ask, how many Zephyrus lethals did you consider in that last game?
I was thinking about it, but I think it never gives me lethal there because they don't know how to set up two
exactly.
Zephyrus. And I play Viper Druid a lot, where you can do a lot of Zephyr stuff. So back then I tested a lot, and I knew that, and I know I just had to push the damage. And I was at almost at the end. I was starting to write a paper to see every single card, so I don't. At least I can play my best if I still don't win. So yeah.
You're telling me Zephyrus never gives you a lava burst to kill the Elise on the other side of the board?
I wish it would.
Yeah, we were thinking the same thing. Since it seemed like a foregone conclusion at that point that you were going to win, we were just trying to come up with the most creative solutions. But going into the last week of play now, so next week you're going to play your final 2 matches. Do you feel like a little bit of kind of pressure off your shoulders because you're qualified for playoffs? Or are you still going to be really gunning for number 1 and still putting a lot of pressure on yourself?
I'm definitely gonna try going for first, same as last season, because first place in Swiss gets you a bye in playoffs, which is pretty big. You just need to win one of your 2 matches, so that's definitely a priority as well. But at the same time, you're not in relegation. Like at worst case, I think I'm pretty solid. Even if I lose twice, I can still go like second or third. Mm-hmm. So I still have like a 50-50 kind of thing. Yeah. So it's not the worst in the world, but of course you always want to be first. That's a competitive mentality. If you don't have that, you normally just drop out. Like you just don't play as well as you normally do.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Good mindset to have, and congratulations on your win. Now you get to go message ETC and tell him happy birthday, because you knocked down one of his main opponents. So
right, no spoilers. Let him watch the stream.
No spoilers. Yeah, don't spoil it. Tell him you lost and let him figure it out for himself.
Okay. Take care, guys.
There we go. Thanks, Eddie. See ya. That would be really funny, though.
Yeah.
Though I would feel really bad for a half hour.
I'm just thinking, like, actually, in context, outside of us just laughing at it, like, oh, sorry, buddy, I lost. You're probably getting relegated. Joke's on you. Just a prank, bro. I won.
Just a prank, bro.
Yeah.
The ultimate cool guy move. But that's only one match in the books. It's already, after 3:30 p.m. here in the studio, and we're just getting started.
Yes.
So we can start talking about the